Airbus 3823, ready for pushback. 3. Push and start approved. Airbus 3823. Airbus 2924 on final. Runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 2924. Airbus 3823. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Airbus 3823. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Airbus 2924. Taxi to stand. Airbus 2924. Green Spirit 7343. Ready for pushback. 1. Push and start approved. Green Spirit 7343. Airbus 3823. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Airbus 3823. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 3823.
Airbus 6390 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 6390.
Green Spirit 7343. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Green Spirit 7343. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Airbus 3823. Bye-bye. Boeing 5, ready for pushback at stand. 4. Push and start approved. Boeing 5.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 6390. Taxi to stand. Airbus 6390.
Green Spirit 7343. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Green Spirit 7343. Airbus 9261 on final for runway 23. Boeing 5, ready for taxi. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 9261. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Green Spirit 7343. Taxi to runway. Boeing 5. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Green Spirit 7343. Bye-bye. Airbus 6045, ready for pushback at stand. 3. Push and start approved. Airbus 6045. Airbus 5415, ready for pushback. 2. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 9261. Taxi to stand. Airbus 9261. Boeing 5, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Airbus 6045, ready for taxi. Runway 23, line up and wait. Boeing 5, taxi to runway 23. Airbus 6045. Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Boeing 5, push and start approved. Airbus 5415. Boeing 5271 on final. Runway 23, cleared to land. 23, Boeing 5271. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Boeing 5, bye-bye. Airbus 5415, ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Airbus 5415.
Airbus 9609, ready for pushback at stand. 1. Push and start approved. Airbus 9609.
Airbus 6045, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 6045. Airbus 980 on final. Runway 23. Going around. Airbus 980. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Boeing 5271. Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Airbus 6045. Taxi to stand. Boeing 5271.
Airbus 9609, ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 9609.
Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Airbus 6045. Bye-bye. Boeing 9530 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Boeing 9530. Airbus 5415, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 5415. Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Airbus 5415. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Airbus 5415. Bye-bye. Green Spirit 7627 on final for runway 23.
Airbus 9609, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 9609.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 9530. Cleared to land. 23. Green Spirit 7627. Taxi to stand. Boeing 9530.
Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Airbus 9609. Contact approach on 130.30. Airbus 9609. Bye-bye.
Runway vacated requesting taxi to stand. Green Spirit, 7627. Boeing, 4683. Ready for pushback at stand. 2. Taxi to stand. Green Spirit, 7627. Push and start approved. Boeing, 4683. Boeing, 73.
Airbus 2067. Ready for pushback at stand. 2. Pushback approved. Airbus 2067. Airbus 2067. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Airbus 2067.
Boeing, 5915 on final for runway. 23. Cleared to land. 23. Boeing, 5915. Airbus 2638. Ready for pushback. 1. Push and start approved. Airbus 2638.
Airbus 2067. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Airbus 2067.
Runway vacated requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 5915. Airbus 2638. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Airbus 2638.
Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 2067. Airbus 6211. On final for runway 23.
Taxi to stand. Boeing 5915.
Cleared to land 23. Airbus 6211. Contact approach on 130.30. Airbus 2067. Bye-bye. Airbus 9er 7. Ready for pushback at stand. 4. Push and start approved. Airbus 9er 7.
Airbus 5725 on final for runway 23.
Runway vacated. Requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 6211.
Airbus 2638 ready for takeoff at runway 23. Cleared to land 23. Airbus 5725.
Airbus Niner Tree 7 ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Airbus Niner Tree 7.
Runway 23. Line up and wait. Airbus 2638.
Taxi to stand. Airbus 6211.
Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 2638. Runway vacated requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 5725. Taxi to stand. Airbus 5725. Boeing 413 ready for pushback 3. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30 Airbus 2638. Bye-bye. Push and start approved. Boeing 413.
Airbus Niner Tree 7 ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Airbus Niner Tree 7. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus Niner Tree 7.
Boeing 8647 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land 23. Boeing 8647. Boeing 413 ready for taxi. Taxi to runway. Boeing 413.
Contact approach on 130.30. Airbus Niner Tree 7. Bye-bye.
Boeing 8714 ready for pushback 1. Push and start approved. Boeing 8714. Airbus 3847 on final. Runway 23. Runway vacated requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 8647. Cleared to land 23. Airbus 3847. Boeing 8714 ready for taxi. Taxi to stand. Boeing 8647. Boeing 413 ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Boeing 413. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 8714. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Boeing 413. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Airbus 3847. Taxi to stand. Airbus 3847. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30 Boeing 413. Bye-bye.
Airbus 8097 ready for pushback at stand 2. Push and start approved. Airbus 8097.
Airbus 7702 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land 23. Airbus 7702.
Airbus 809er 7, ready for taxi.
Boeing 8714, ready for takeoff at runway 23.
Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 809er 7.
Runway 23, line up and wait. Boeing 8714. Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Boeing 8714. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 7702. Taxi to stand. Airbus 7702. Boeing 6032. Ready for pushback. 3. Push and start approved. Boeing 6032. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Boeing 8714. Bye-bye. Airbus 8495 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 8495.
Airbus 809er 7, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 809er 7. Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Airbus 809er 7.
Boeing 6032. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 6032. Boeing 125 on final. Runway 23.
Contact approach on 130.30. Airbus 809er 7. Bye-bye.
Cleared to land. 23. Boeing 125. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 8495. Taxi to stand. Airbus 8495. Airbus 2818 on final. Runway 23. Airbus 4437. Ready for pushback at stand. 1. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 2818. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Boeing 125. Push and start approved. Airbus 4437. Boeing 6032. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Boeing 6032. Airbus 4437. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 4437.
Airbus 8356 on final for runway 23.
Airbus 870. Ready for pushback. 4. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Boeing 6032.
Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 8356.
Taxi to stand. Boeing 125. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Airbus 2818. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Boeing 6032. Bye-bye. Push and start approved. Airbus 870. Airbus 4437, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 4437. Airbus 870, ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23, Airbus 870.
Boeing 8031 on final for runway 23.
Taxi to stand. Airbus 2818.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 8356. Cleared to land. 23, Boeing 8031.
Runway 23, cleared for takeoff. Airbus 4437. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Airbus 4437. Bye-bye. Boeing 6038, ready for pushback at stand 1. Push and start approved. Boeing 6038. Airbus 870, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Runway 23, line up and wait. Airbus 870. Boeing 3251 on final. Runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Boeing 3251. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 870. Boeing 6038. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 6038.
Taxi to stand. Airbus 8356. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 8031.
Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Airbus 870. Bye-bye. Airbus 5682, ready for pushback 3. Push and start approved. Airbus 5682. Airbus 9285, ready for pushback 2. Airbus 7930 on final. Runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 7930. Airbus 5682. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 5682. Boeing 6038. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Push and start approved. Airbus 9285. Runway 23. Line up and wait. Boeing 6038. Airbus 9285. Ready for taxi. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Boeing 6038. Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 9285. Airbus 7263. Ready for pushback at stand 4.
Taxi to stand. Boeing 8031.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Boeing 3251. Airbus 5682, ready for takeoff at runway 23. Contact approach on 130 decimal 30. Boeing 6038. Bye-bye. Boeing 8101 on final. Runway 23. Taxi to stand. Boeing 3251. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Airbus 7930. Cleared to land. 23. Boeing 8101.
Airbus 2086. Ready for pushback at stand 1. Push and start approved. Airbus 2086.
Runway 23. Line up and wait. Airbus 5682. Airbus 9285. Ready for takeoff at runway 23. Push and start approved. Airbus 7263.
Airbus 2086. Ready for taxi.
Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 9285. Hold position. Airbus 9285. Runway 23. Cleared for takeoff. Airbus 5682. Airbus 7263. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 7263.
Taxi to runway 23. Airbus 2086.
Contact approach on 130 decimal 30 Airbus 5682. Bye-bye.
Boeing 4016. Ready for pushback at stand 2. Boeing 5184. On final for runway 23.
Taxi to stand. Airbus 7930. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Boeing 8101.
Cleared to land 23. Boeing 5184.
Taxi to stand. Boeing 8101.
Push and start approved. Boeing 4016. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 5184.
Boeing 1497. Ready for pushback at stand 3.
Boeing 4016. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 4016. Boeing 5824. On final for runway 23. Cleared to land 23. Boeing 5824. Taxi to stand. Boeing 5184.
Push and start approved. Boeing 1497.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 5824.
Boeing 1497, ready for taxi. Holding position. Airbus 7263. Continue taxi. Airbus 7263.
Airbus 9823 on final for runway 23.
Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 1497. Boeing 8637. Ready for pushback at stand. 4.
Cleared to land 23. Airbus 9823. Taxi to stand. Boeing 5824.
Airbus 1490 on final for runway 23. Push and start approved. Boeing 8637.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 9823.
Cleared to land. 23. Airbus 1490. Boeing 8637. Ready for taxi. Airbus 3510 on final. Runway 23. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 8637.
Taxi to stand. Airbus 9823.
Cleared to land 23. Airbus 3510. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Airbus 1490.
Boeing 655. Ready for pushback at stand. Tree.
Runway vacated, requesting taxi to the gates. Airbus 3510.
Push and start approved. Boeing 655.
Boeing 6229 on final for runway 23. Cleared to land. 23. Boeing 6229.
Boeing 655. Ready for taxi. Taxi to runway 23. Boeing 655.
Airbus 1066. Ready for pushback at stand. 1. Taxi to stand. Airbus 3510. Runway vacated, requesting taxi to stand. Boeing 6229. push and start approved. Airbus 1066.
Boeing 753, ready for pushback at stand 2. Airbus 9336 on final for runway 23.
Airbus 1066, ready for taxi.
Going around. Airbus 9336. Airbus 3125, ready for pushback at stand 4.